Hello and warm regards from Next IAS team. Welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis. The topics that we are covering today are, the first one is critical minerals. It is in the news because Donald Trump has said that coal should be included under the critical minerals and he is now exploring those ways. Second topic will be PM-POSHAN Scheme. There have been some reallocation under the scheme that we are going to see. The third topic we are having is NIA. So the Tahavur Rana has been excited to India and the case will be taken over by the NIA. The next topic we are having is about RTI Act. The section 44(3) of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act is under criticism by the opposition leaders in this act. The next lastly topic will be the social security for the workers. In this we are going to see what is the social security net in India is present, and secondly how it is affecting the unorganized sector of the country. So now let's start with the first topic. The first topic that we are having is about critical minerals. It is in the backdrop that Trump designated coal as the mineral and has directed officials to explore whether it qualifies as a critical mineral or not. Now, it is relevant from the GS Paper 1 under the subtopic Distribution of Key Natural Resources Across the World. It comes under Geography. Now, before moving ahead, let's see what are the critical minerals, what are critical materials, and what are rare earth minerals. So, first of all, critical materials. So, critical materials include any kind of non-fuel essential material which is having a high supply risk. So, it is a non-fuel material which is having a high supply risk. Second is the critical minerals. Critical minerals include any kind of material, any kind of material, or you can say mineral. If it is having a problem with respect to supply, it can lead to a disrupted supply chain. So any mineral, if the supply chain of that mineral is disrupted, then it is going to affect the whole supply chain. That is a critical mineral. Third one is the rare earth minerals. Rare earth minerals are usually designated as 17 in number, and they include 15 lanthanoids plus scandium and yttrium. Now, they are rare not because they are not present in the Earth's surface. They are moderately present or moderately abundant in any area. However, when we are going to explore them, it becomes economically very costly for us. So, due to their economical viability, they becomes rare. So we need to put more resources in exploring those minerals. That's why they are known as rare earth minerals, because their economical viability is challenging for us. Now, with respect to coal, if we see, already European Union has listed coal as a critical raw material. That means coal is very important for the industry and for the economy. If the supply chain or supply side coal is having any problems, it is going to affect the whole supply chain of the economy. Secondly, if we talk about India itself, Niti Aayog in one of its report has said that cooking coal should be included under the critical minerals for the supply chain resilience. Now, next comes is that when Trump is saying that he is going to include, or he is asking his administration to consider coal being included under the critical minerals, he is arguing that the emission regulations are burdensome and they are impacting the economy. That's why coal should be included as a critical mineral. Secondly, control technologies are yet to become commercially viable. So he is arguing that to improve the economy of America, to fulfill his goal of MAGA, making America great again, the coal should be included as a critical mineral. Secondly, there is going to be ecological effect, that's for sure. So experts have warned that over-reliance on coal without investing in carbon capture or emission abatement could jeopardize the national and global net zero targets, and it is going to affect in the form of climate change and global warming. So there have been concerns from the experts as well, because designating coal as a critical mineral is going to increase the utilization of coal in the economy, and that is going to lead to increase in the emissions. Now, next thing is that if we talk about India itself, critical minerals are defined as the essential for any country's economic development and national security, and scarcity can result in supply chain vulnerabilities. In India, in November 2022, 30 critical minerals were identified. And out of those 30 critical minerals, 24 were included in the Part D of Schedule 1 of the Minerals and Mines and Minerals Development Act. Now, what is the significance of adding these minerals there? By adding these 24 minerals in the Part D of Schedule 1, the center is going to take any kind of decision which it wants for the exploration of these minerals. So, there is no need for state's consent for exploration of these minerals. It has been done to ensure that there is no lag in the supply of these critical minerals. Now, the list for the critical minerals is as follows: the 30 minerals that have been identified. It is antimony, beryllium, bismuth, cobalt, copper, gallium, then germanium, graphite, hafnium, indium, lithium, molybdenum, niobium, nickel, PGE, phosphorus, potash, Re, rhenium, silicon, strontium, tantalum, tellurium, tin, titanium, tungsten, vanadium, zirconium, selenium and cadmium. So this is the list of the critical minerals of India, which were identified in 2022, that is in November. Now next is what is the application, why they are so important. First of all, it is the backbone of any country. Critical minerals are essential for modern devices like phones, EVs, we have solar panels, medical technology. So all are having the application of the critical minerals. Second is green energy. They power the renewable technologies which is vital for the global net zero goals. So solar, wind, batteries as well as semiconductors are having application of these critical minerals. The next thing is future economy. So minerals like lithium, cobalt, rare earth drive the green and digital economy. And lastly, they also contribute to strategic autonomy of a country. So by securing these minerals, reduces the import dependence and support long-term national planning, because these critical minerals are very vital for the running of the economic enterprises. Now next is what are the initiative by the government. So if we talk about the initiative, the provisions that we are having, first of all, we have launched a national critical mineral mission, and it was launched in 2025. So recently it has been launched and it has been covered in one of the DNA analysis as well. Now it was launched in 2025 to establish a robust framework for self-reliance in the critical mineral sector. GSI or Geological Survey of India has been tasked with conducting 1200 exploration projects from 2025 to 2030-31. Now secondly, the Minerals and Mines and Minerals Act has been again amended in 2023. The objective is to boost exploration and mining of the critical minerals. The next is that GIC is already conducting some exploration projects. For example, 368 projects were undertaken in last 3 years. Next, 195 are ongoing projects, and in the coming year, 227 projects have been planned for the exploration part. Now, next thing is, what are the other provisions? Now, one more provision we are having is the Khanij. Now, one more provision we are having is the S&T PRISM program of 2023. It means promotion of research and innovation in startups and MSME in mining. So this S&T PRISM program is basically to promote research and development in the mining sector by the MSMEs. So you should know. And it is being conducted by the Ministry of Mines. It is going to fund startups and MSMEs for R&D and commercialization of the mineral sector. So for the mineral sector, we are having a separate R&D program that is known as S&T PRISM program, and it is mainly directing MSMEs as well as startups. Now next is Khanij Bidesh India Limited. Now this Khanij India Bidesh Limited, it is a joint venture company which is having equity contributions from NALCO, HCL and MECL. Now the basic objective of this Khanij Bidesh India Limited is to identify and acquire the overseas mineral assets. It is going to focus on the critical and strategic minerals such as lithium, cobalt, and other minerals. The objective is to ensure that the supply side assurance for these important minerals is there, so that there should be no problem with respect to the supply side of these minerals. Next is, it has acquired 15,703 hectares in Argentina for lithium exploration. Now, do you know why lithium is important? So write down why lithium is important in today's time, especially which thing is being manufactured with the help of lithium. Next is overall objective. It is going to strengthen India's critical mineral supply chain and will increase the local industry development as well. Now you have to attempt the MCQ available on the screen and you have to post your answers in the comment box. The second topic is PM-POSHAN Scheme. Now the backdrop is that Centre is going to pay more for the PM-POSHAN Scheme in school. Now one is the PM-POSHAN Scheme and another is the POSHAN Abhiyan. So you don't have to confuse between two. And secondly, you have to tell me what is the POSHAN Abhiyan. What are the provisions of the POSHAN Abhiyan? So both are different. Now this is important from the GS paper 2 government schemes perspective. Now first of all, why it is in news? It is in news because there has been a revised material cost by the government and it will be effective from the 1st May 2025. Though there is an increase in the material cost and has been enhanced by 9.5% based on the inflation index. There will be an additional burden of rupees 954 crores in this financial year. Then the new material cost will be like this. It will be rupees 6.78 for the Bal Vatikas and primary school, and for the upper primary schools it has been increased to rupees 10.17. Next thing is that the states and UTs contribution. Although these rates that have been mentioned are the minimum mandatory rates, however, if any state wants, it is free to contribute more than this prescribed share. Secondly, some states and UTs are already contributing additional funds to enhance the meal nutrition of the students. Now next thing is that what is the prescribed meal component under it? So if we go for the prescribed meal component, the first of all is the Bal Vatikas and the primary schools. For them, the pulses are 20 grams, the vegetables are 50 grams and oil is 5 grams. And for the upper primary schools, it is 30 for the pulses and 75 grams for the vegetable and 7.5 grams for the oil. Next thing is that what this scheme is covering. Now this scheme is covering, it is going to cover, the beneficiaries will be 11.2 crore students in Bal Vatikas and class 1 to 8. Then institutional covers 10.36 lakh government and government aided schools are being covered under it. The meal type will be, there will be one hot cooked meal that will be served on daily basis. Now what will be the central government support? The food grain will be supplied by the FCI. So 26 lakh tons per year of the food grains will be supplied by FCI under this scheme. Second is that the financial responsibilities that will be of the center, 100% cost of food grains, that is the 26 lakh crore, that is that lakh tons of food grains that is supplied every year, that food cost will be borne by the center itself. Secondly, the transportation cost from FCI to the schools will also be borne by the center only. So the center's responsibility here is to procure the food grains as well as supply them to the schools. Next thing is that about the POSHAN Abhiyan. This POSHAN Abhiyan, the full name is that Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman. Earlier this scheme was used to be known as National Program for the Midday Meal Scheme in the schools. And in September 2021, it was renamed as the PM-POSHAN Scheme or Pradhan Mantri Poshan Scheme. It is a centrally sponsored scheme and it has been implemented by the Ministry of Education. That is, the nodal ministry is the Ministry of Education, and the department concerned is Department of School Education and Literacy. So you should be knowing about that it is being implemented by Department of School Education and Literacy under Ministry of Education. Secondly, this is a centrally sponsored scheme. Thirdly, it is a restructured scheme of the previously National Program for the Midday Meal Scheme. Next is that it aims to provide one hot cooked meal to the students studying in Balvatikas, that is pre-primary, and class 1 to class 8 in the government and the government aided school on all working days. So these are going to be the targets under this scheme. Next is that the primary goal of the scheme is to offer nutritional support and to boost the school attendance participation. Now, why this scheme was launched? The basic objective of the midday meal scheme was that sometimes it was being observed that the parents are, instead of sending their children to the school, they are sending them to the work so that they can at least ensure one-time meal for themselves. So government said that if you are going to come to the school, then you will be provided midday meal, or you will be provided the daily afternoon meal if the child is coming to the school. So the objective was twin. One was key to encourage the parents so that they send their children to the school, and so at least they are having one proper meal. Second objective was to fight the malnutrition, to fight the problem of hunger in our country, and at least at the child level it is being fought. So to fight the problem of hunger at the child level, this scheme was launched. So the allocation for this year is 12,500 crores for the current budget year. Now, there has been some problems with the scheme also. The scheme problems include, first is the nutritional gap. Majority of the meal fails to meet the mandated calorie and protein standards. Second is the infrastructure that we are having, for example, kitchens, water, storage, etc. They are not adequate or they are not up to standard. Secondly, the staff. That staff is not properly qualified and it is affecting the quality of the meal, affecting the quality of the meal. Second is the coverage gap. Nearly 25% disparity between enrolled students and those receiving meals have been observed. Next is the financial mismanagement. 42% of the states have overspent their budget share, indicating inefficient financial management affecting the meal consistency. Next is, in spite of having a scheme, we are still having alarming malnutrition levels in the country. With respect to adolescent girls, 55.6% are malnourished, highlighting continued nutritional deficiency despite the scheme. So these are the challenges with respect to the scheme. Now you are in the position to attempt the MCQ and please post your answers in the comment box. Secondly, you have to tell me about the POSHAN Abhiyan that is being run by the government. Which ministry is running that program and what are the important provisions of that program. Now next article we are having is about NIA. Why it is in news? It is in news because Tahavur Rana, who is a Canadian citizen of Pakistan origin and who was one of the culprits and convicts under this Mumbai attack of 2008, has been extradited to India from USA. And now NIA is going to take on the case of this Tahavur Rana and the following proceedings are going to happen. So we are going to study here about what is NIA, what it is its mandate and why it has been formed. So it is important from GS paper 2, statutory and regulatory and various quasi-judicial bodies, and question can be asked in prelims also regarding the structure and the mandate of this NIA. Now it is in the backdrop of the Rana's extradition and NIA arresting him. Now first of all about NIA. NIA is the Central Counter-Terrorism Law Enforcement Agency and it is formed under the NIA Act of 2008. It came into being on 1st January 2009 and it is under Ministry of Home Affairs. So these things are important for you. Next thing is that it is empowered to investigate and prosecute offences affecting the sovereignty, integrity and security of our country. So if anything that affects our sovereignty, integrity and security, NIA is going to take over those cases. Next thing is that what are the various acts under which NIA can be evoked or NIA can take action. First and foremost is the NIA Act of 2008. Then we are having Atomic Energy Act of 1962, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967. Then we are having Anti-Hijacking Act of 1982. Then Suppression of Unlawful Acts Against Civil Aviation of 1982. Then the Weapons of Mass Destruction Act of 1995. So under all these acts, the NIA can function. Next is, there has been amendment in 2019. The NIA Amendment Act of 2019 added following to the mandate of NIA. These include human trafficking. Any kind of human trafficking cases can now be taken up by NIA. Secondly, counterfeit currencies, then cyber terrorism and attack on Indian diplomat missions abroad. So any kind of these cases will also be now, investigation will also be conducted by the NIA itself. Now this Amendment Act has given extraterritorial jurisdiction to NIA. That means it can now investigate offences committed outside India that affect Indian citizens or interest. So anything that is happening outside India is affecting India's interest as well as Indian citizens, then those cases can be pursued by NIA. Next thing is that what are the objectives of NIA? So if we talk about objectives, the first and foremost is that it is the central agency. It acts as a primary hub for the counter-terrorism and efforts across any state or across the country. Secondly, it is going to develop the investigative standards, that it is going to establish the benchmarks for conducting anti-terrorism investigations. Next, efficient and impartial investigation. It will ensure that fair and unbiased inquiries into the national security offences is being conducted. Next, it is going to develop a comprehensive database also. It is going to maintain an extensive record of the terrorist entities and individuals so that it can be used for further investigations and to protect our country from any further attacks. Then it is also going to ensure enhanced cooperation. It is going to foster collaboration with domestic as well as international law enforcement agencies. So basically for counter-terrorism, NIA is going to be the primary agency. Next is, what are the roles and responsibilities of NIA? First of all, it is investigation and prosecution about the terrorism related offences and other offences which has now been included. There will be special NIA courts also for speedy trial and justice. The next will be the coordination with the states. So it is going to collaborate with the state polices, then the Central Armed Force polices, then Intelligence Bureau and other agencies to strengthen the national intelligence and response system. Then it is also going for the capacity building part. The agency is going to provide training and assistance to the state forces in handling terrorism related crimes. Lastly, it will also be involved in intelligence gathering. So through primary investigations, NIA will often collaborate with intelligence units to gather actionable inputs. Next thing is, what are the powers it is having? So it is having investigative powers. It can take case suo moto. It can take the case suo moto for those cases which are under the scheduled offences. There is a scheduled list that is provided under NIA, and if any offence is conducted under that scheduled list, that cases can be taken suo moto by the NIA. Secondly, it can arrest, it can conduct searches, seizures under the relevant legal provisions. Thirdly, it is also having powers regarding cross-border operations. So cross-border operations and collaboration with foreign government and agencies, NIA can do that. And lastly, the prosecution part. So it is having prosecutory powers in as per the NIA special courts have been developed to expedite the trial cases. Now next thing is that you have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. The fourth article we are having is about RTI Act. It is in the backdrop that Union Minister Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav has said that the RTI Act will not restrict disclosure, and it is to calm down the concerns which the opposition leaders have raised. This is relevant from GS paper 2, important aspects of governance, transparency and accountability and institutional and other measures. Now what is the issue? Opposition leaders like Gaurav Gogoi, John British, Priyanka Chaturvedi and others have criticized the Act as a deliberate attempt to undermine RTI. The allegations that have been put are that it is going to weaken the transparency, it is going to shield corruption, and it is going to undermine the citizens' right to hold the government accountable. Now, which act is being talked about? The act that is talked about is DPDP Act. DPDP Act is Digital Personal Data Protection Act, and it is going to undermine the RTI Act. So this concern is basically the provisions which the DPDP Act is having and how they are undermining the Right to Information Act of the citizens. Now what is the concern here? The concern is that Section 44(3) of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act is going to dilute the RTI Act. This is the allegation that has been put by the 120 India bloc leaders, and they have urged Centre to take cognizance of this issue. The concern is that this Section 44(3) is going to override the Section 8(1)(j) provision of RTI Act. It is going to remove, and also it is going to remove a provision under Section 8. The provision that is being removed is that the information which cannot be denied to Parliament or state legislature shall not be denied to any person. Now this provision of the RTI Act has been omitted. So these are the two concerns they are having. First concern is that Section 44(3) is overriding Section 8(1)(j). Secondly, one provision of Section 8 is being removed. This provision is about this. Now next is, this is the Section 8 of the RTI Act of 2005. Now this is a summary of this act. The summary says that Section 8 and 1 they are provide for exemptions. They says that these list is going to be exempted from the disclosure. Secondly, Section 2 allows for disclosure if public interest overweighs the harm in giving personal information. Secondly, Section 3 says that most exemptions are going to lapse after 20 years, except they are of sensitive nature. So this is the basic summary of Section 8. Now next is the what is the change that this DPDP Act is bringing in? The DPDP Act Section 44(3) says that in Section 8 of RTI, the subsection 1 clause J, the following clause shall be substituted, that is information which relates to personal information. So this is being substituted. By substitution of this provision, the disclosure norms are going to be diluted. That means in wake of the personal information, the disclosure can be avoided. Secondly, now Ashwani Vaishnav has said that you are just reading Section 44(3) of the DPDP Act. There is another section, that is Section 3 of DPDP Act, which actually reinforces the RTI Act. So Section 3 has to be read first and then Section 44 has to be read. Section 3 says that it will be applied to the process of digital personal data within the territory of India and the personal data collection in digital form or the non-digital form, or digitalized subsequently. Secondly, it will be applying to the process of digital personal data outside the territory of country if such processing is in connection with any activity related to the offering of the goods and services or data principles within the territory of India. Next, it will not apply to personal data processed by an individual or any personal or domestic purpose. So any personal data that is being processed by an individual for any personal or domestic purpose, that shall not be disclosed. Secondly, personal data that is made or caused to be made publicly available by the digital data principal to whom such personal data breach is related. Secondly, any person who is under obligation under any law over the time is being enforced in the country to make such provision publicly available. So any provision of the law which mandates that the data should be made publicly available, then this provision will not be applicable. That means that information has to be disclosed. Next is about the RTI Act. So that's what's the argument the government has given. Secondly, the government has also said that in accordance with the Puttaswamy judgment of Supreme Court, the Digital Data Protection Bill was necessary and such provisions have to be kept there so that the privacy can be ensured, the right to privacy can be ensured. Next is about the RTI Act. This RTI Act was enacted in 2005. The objective was to empower the citizens to seek information from public authorities. It is going to promote accountability, transparency and citizen participation in the governance of the country. When people are going to ask the question from the government itself that why such things are not being done, it will make government more accountable to the people. And next time when they go for seeking votes from the people, the public is going to directly ask them why they have not done the thing, and they have to answer to that also. Now it mandates timely response to citizen request and covers central, state and local government bodies. So all things will be covered here. Next thing, what is the structure here? There will be a public information commissioner officer at all the public authorities, and all the details regarding RTI are going to be provided by this PIO. So every department is going to have a PIO. Now if PIO is not giving information properly or there are any grievances regarding it, so the cases will go to State Information Commissioner. After that, the appeals are going to go to the Central Information Commissioner if the case is not resolved properly by the State Information Commissioners. Now in 2019, there was an amendment to the RTI Act, which is again a problem. Why? Because there were concerns regarding the dilution of the act. How it was diluted? It was that the fixed tenure of 5 years of CICs and ICs was removed. So there is going to be no fixed tenure. The tenure is now flexible. Secondly, the tenure will be decided by the central government. So it is going to decide what will be the tenure. Secondly, the salary and service conditions. Earlier the salaries were to the level of election commissioner, but election commissioner is a constitutional body. Now central will decide the salaries, allowances and service conditions of the CICs and ICs. So in a way, the argument was that election commissioner, as he or she is a constitutional body, and the CIC is a statutory body. So both cannot be on par. So the salary conditions are now on par with other statutory bodies for which the center actually decides the salaries. Next is dilution of the independence. In 2009 amendment, the autonomy of the information commissioner making them vulnerable to the executive influence. How executive influence them? Because first of all, the fixed tenure condition has been removed. Secondly, the salary will be decided by the center itself. Now you have to attempt the MCQ and post your answers in the comment box. Now it's time for the editorial analysis. The topic that we are having is a social security for workers. It is in the backdrop that as India strives to make its workforce future ready, its robust social protection system that can withstand workforce and sectoral changes need to be in place. It is important from GS paper 2 welfare schemes for vulnerable sections, as well as it can be part of GS paper 3. In both the aspects, this topic becomes relevant. Now, this is the previous year question that was there. You can attempt this question, and let's move on to the main part right now. In the main part, in the news, first of all, there is a current initiative that is going for the gig workers. India is moving towards establishing a social security for online based gig workers. It will be a central scheme and it is awaiting the cabinet approval. The proposed benefits will include health coverage under Ayushman Bharat, then the registration on the e-Shram portal, then a transaction based pension policy also with universal account number to track the earning and enable platform wise contribution. Now having these kind of schemes like pension scheme, they are having its own benefits. The benefits include that first of all, it is recognizing the non-traditional employment nature of the gig workers. So now gig workers are getting a recognition if this scheme is being launched. Secondly, it is acknowledging a multi-employer relationship. So it is acknowledging that there is a multi-player relationship with the gig workers. Third is that it is going to ensure a shared responsibility for worker welfare across the platform. And lastly, it will mark the progress including informal workers who are typically excluded from the social security. So these are the significance of having a pension scheme for the workers. The next thing that comes is that who are gig workers? हम gig workers किनको बोलेंगे? How do we define the gig workers? So gig workers are individuals who undertake temporary or flexible jobs outside the realm of the traditional full-time employment. So they are taking temporary and flexible jobs कि अपने मन पे वो काम करेंगे. For example, an Uber driver, he wants to take the duty, he is going to take the duty. If he doesn't want to take the duty, he is not going to take that duty. तो वो उन पे डिपेंड करता है. It totally depends upon them. Either they want to work for 20 hours or 2 hours a day or 4 hours a day, and they are basically platform based. But Niti Aayog has said that these gig workers are basically of two types. One are platform workers and another are non-platform workers. The platform workers rely on the digital platforms and algorithm-based systems. Examples: Uber, Amazon, then Swiggy workers are there, Flipkart workers are there. So they are the platform workers who are working based upon the platforms. Now a new services portal is there. They are also platform-based workers. Second are non-platform workers. They engage in offline technology-independent works, such as construction, daily wage labor, and other forms of casual employment. So according to Niti Aayog, gig workers operate beyond the conventional employer-employee framework and broadly categorized in these two groups. Next, what approach India takes with respect to these, with respect to the social structure of these workers? The India's approach is basically a reactive approach. It is not a proactive. The proactiveness in the approach is actually missing. How? For example, gig workers, if we see, the Uber, Ola, Amazon, they came around a decade back. It was in 2013-14 when we start seeing such things coming up. Swiggy came up, then we have Amazon came up, then we have Flipkart came up, and there were many platforms which were engaging these kind of workers, which were the unorganized sectors. Now, India is having a social security schemes after 10 to 12 years when these kind of work profiles coming up. So when a larger pool of workers was created, then we are having a scheme. What about those 10 years when they have worked? There was no social protection during that time. So we are having a reactive approach. When the demand was created, then we launched a scheme. Then we are thinking about these things. We should be going back. We should be proactive in our approach. We should be seeing that what is going to happen in future, and we should design our policies in a manner so that future coming things can be taken care of easily. That's why we are having a reactive approach, not a proactive approach. Secondly, there is need to reimagine a framework to keep up with the evolving work categories. So that is the requirement of the day. Now, one more thing is that India has still not rectified the ILO's Social Security Minimum Standard Convention of 1952. More than 70 years have passed out. To be precise, 73 years have been there with this convention, and still India has not rectified this ILO's convention. And now we are having a code of social security in place, and there are concerns regarding the ambiguous definitions which this code is having, the diluted provisions which this code is having, and more or less the implementation issues which the social security code is having. We are going to see those issues as well. Now, before moving ahead, first of all, let's see what was the Social Security Code of 2020. Now, it was passed by Parliament in September 2020 along with 3 other labor codes. So, there were 4 labor codes that were passed by Parliament, and these codes were: first was Code on Wages of 2019, then Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code of 2020, and Industrial Codes of 2020. So these are the 3 codes, and this Social Security Code is the 4th code. So these 4 combined together to form the Labor Codes of India. Now, these codes are based on 2nd National Commission on Labour report. So that is also important for us. Then these codes consolidate, this Social Security Code consolidates 8 central labour laws aiming to extend the social security to informal workers, including gig and platform workers. So this is the basic of the Social Security Code 2020. Next, we are having welfare boards who are going to take care of the welfare of the laborers under the unorganized sectors. But there are certain problems in the execution of that. What are the problems? First of all, there is ineffective implementation. How it is ineffective? A large amount of funds get unutilized. Almost 70,000, or you can say 71,000 crores of funds are still unutilized in the with respect to the construction workers itself. Second problem is the delayed payments problem. It was encountered in Tamil Nadu. Example of Tamil Nadu is there. 221.8 crore payments were delayed in this state itself. Then thirdly is the non-functional and underperforming boards are also there. For example, in Kerala, out of 16, 5 are still effective, and rest 11 are ineffective boards. One more problem is there. There is segregation of the board. Construction is having its own board. Tea laborers are having their own boards. Tobacco laborers are having their own boards. So there is fragmentation of the boards also. Now problems are there. Problems is that there is incremental and fragmental approach that we are having. For example, the current approach provides piecemeal and segmented support. For example, BD workers are having their own board, gig workers are having their own board, so that is the problem. This fragmented administration, there are multiple administrating agencies leading to high compliance costs, so that is the first impact. Second, there is overlapping policies and laws that add to the inefficiency. So there are overlapping policies and laws which are leading to inefficiencies. Secondly, there are multiple administrating agencies which are including the compliance cost. Next, what is the impact? It is creating artificial distinctions between types of informal workers. So first of all, there are formal workers and informal workers, and under informal workers as well we are having a segregation which is created by these boards. Secondly, it is leaving out the vulnerable categories due to arbitrary eligibility criteria is there. Next, over reliance on the gig workers to formalize informal labor may be unrealistic. So what we are having is that we are over relying on the gig workers, that by formalizing them we will be able to formalize the whole informal sector. That is not going to be possible, because in the informal sector we are having many categories. So we have to have a holistic picture of those informal sector. Now next is the limited coverage it is having. A large portion of the population, especially the unorganized and informal sector, remains uncovered by the social security measures that we are having in place. So that is another problem with our social security network. Next, there is no clear roadmap with respect to the future inclusion of the sectors in a unified manner. Next problem is the lack of worker participation. Social assistance program involve minimal participation from workers in the decision making process. And with respect to lack of participation in the decision making process, the benefits that they could get, the problems that they are having, they are not coming to forefront. So it actually is contributing to arms chair planning that we are having. Next is absence of right based approach. The social security is not treated as legal right, making it vulnerable to dilution without compensation for the workers. Next is loss of benefit due to migration. When a worker migrates from Bihar or Eastern Uttar Pradesh to Punjab or to Karnataka or to any other state, then the benefit that he should be getting, that those benefits are getting lost, because these workers are voters for the respective home states, not for the states in which they are going to work. So that becomes a problem for them. So the provisions that we are having for these workers is minimal, because any state where the workers are migrating to is not going to provide social security benefit to the migrating workers. So migrate workers from the unorganized sector often lose their contribution, affecting their entitled benefits. Next is inefficient worker identification problem is also there. The system for identifying and registering informal sector workers is unstructured and inconsistent. So these are the problems with respect to the current measures that we are having in place for the social security of the workers. Now, what can be the way forward? First of all, we need a robust, adaptable system for future-ready workforce. Second, proposed approach: use court's mandate as the minimum baseline, built upon for inclusive, universal and accessible social protection. Ensure no worker is left behind regardless of their employment classification. Now, next, what is the social measures that we are taking? First of all, the constitutional framework. Under our constitution, basically the DPSPs, we are having certain articles for the welfare of the workers. One is Article 38, then Article 39A, Article 41, Article 42 and Article 43. Next is the legal framework that we are having. We are having a number of schemes that are visible on the screen. Employment Compensation Act of 1923, Workmen Compensation Act of 1923, Employees State Insurance Act of 1948, then Employment Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 1952, Payment of Gratuity Act of 1972, enactment of two legislations relating to welfare of construction workers in year 1966, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act of 2005, Unorganized Workers Social Security Act, Unorganized Workers of Social Security Act of 2008, then Domestic Workers Act of 2008, then Pension Fund Regulatory Development Act of 2014, Maternity Benefit Act of 1961. There are more schemes as well. Then we are having important schemes as well. These schemes include National Social Assistance Program, Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Man Dhan Yojana or PM-SM Yojana, old age protection, then National Pension Scheme for traders and the self-employed persons, then Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Program, Jeevan Jyoti Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Atal Pension Yojana, National Safai Karamcharis Financial and Development Corporation is there, Self-Employment Scheme for Rehabilitation of Mental Scavengers is there. So there are multiple schemes that we are having under social protection for the laborers. So now you can attempt the mains question that is visible on the screen. Attempt this question and post your answer in the comment box. I hope this discussion would have been helpful for you. Thank you very much.